Well, joining us now is Ambassador Gregory Okon, and is a former ambassador to Equatorial Guinea. Good to see you, and thanks for your time. Is 138 years from when the Berlin Conference first held, talking about the partitioning of the continent. That was the first scramble where we had France, Germany, the United Kingdom, Portugal. But now, this time, it seemed to be changing. If you don't mind, let us in what the new entrants, especially those in the Far East, are seeing on the continent that is making Africa another beautiful bride, as I say.
Thank you very much. I think we should start this discussion with a review of the global international system. I would want to start by saying that there is a need for a new international economic order, a new financial architecture that takes into consideration the development of all parts of the globe. It is clear that the former rules or the present existing rules-based organization, Bretton Woods, established by the Bretton Woods institution, supported by the Marshall Plan, has failed to address economic disparities. It has failed to equalize economic opportunities between the global south and the global north. And this asymmetrical economic system has elevated to the fore the need for a debate on a more equitable, a more justifiable economic order with new institutions and new structures. Having said that, I will now go straight to your question. Why are they coming to Africa?
Yeah.
Africa has a lot to offer the world. Indeed, I will want to tell you that the stability of African economic order is the stability of the world. Africa is the only continent, the only region now strategically positioned to benefit from global capitalism. Africa is the only region that is open to venture capital. While the industrialized countries of the West have adopted several measures of protectionism, Africa is quite open and free. These people have seen this potential. From 2004 till today, Africa has been growing. African economies have been growing at 4%, at par with South American economies, overtaking the industrialized countries of the world. African banks are the strongest banks, strongest financial institutions. They are being protected from toxic assets. You know, Africa has, the UN has estimated that by 2050, Africa will be 2.4 billion people. That is about 1/4 of the world's population. And that population comprises of very vibrant youth.
So, Africa has a lot going for it, no doubt. The West understands that Africa has a lot to offer, both in terms of natural resources and even human resources. But does Africa know it? Do African leaders know it? If they do, in what way exactly can Africa factor in this global, international system that you talk about? How can Africa, step to the plate?
Well, first of all, we all hear of the lack of infrastructure. Take, for instance, Nigeria with 200 million people, about 200 million people can only generate 10% of its electricity needs. So you ask what infrastructure? Human capital development, very, very important. Formalizing the informal sector. The ILO and the UN were surprised to find out that 55% of Africa's GDP, 80% of Africa's workforce is in the informal sector. And yet, these are not reflected in government statistics. The informal sector contributes tremendously to this economy, and we are neglecting it very seriously. Well, yes, Africa is a commodity, more or less commodity-based economy. So your question is, one of the things that we require is how do we balance ODA, overseas development assistance, with key elements of the economy to link African markets to global markets. Right. It's very important. Yes, we do not want to continue to export cocoa. We want to export chocolate, which cocoa is only a raw material for chocolate. So how does Africa position itself in such a way that it can export chocolate, not cocoa?
Right.
That's the question. And it comes down to leadership. What are the African leaders doing? Okay, look at the after AFTA, the African Trade Agreement, the only instrument, the only mechanism to link African countries. Look at the lackadaisical attitude of African countries.
You know, that brings us to this. 138 years ago, Africa were not part of that business, or talking about the partitioning. So for the very first time, this time around, we're getting to see African leaders, as you highlighted, being a part of the conversation. And as former ambassador and someone who is deep in international relations and politics, for Nigeria and a few other West African countries, where do you think the continent should be looking towards now that we have China, we have Saudi Arabia, we have the United States? I said a smile on your face. And we have quite a number of these countries. So where should we look towards?
Thank you very much for your question. We have to go back to politics. The question is the interest, not who. Yes, I do not think that we should be specific on any of these countries, any of them coming in. Right. But we should be able to create our own priorities. They should not come and determine what sector they want to invest in. They should come and be channeled into the sector that will be most productive for us. It doesn't matter whether it's China. The Chinese have a problem. Whether a cat is black or white, it doesn't matter as long as it catches mice. So I would want to borrow that Chinese proverb. As far as I'm concerned, it doesn't matter whether it is India, even the United States of America, wherever, even the China itself, as long as we catch the mice. Where is our
But can we come from a position of strength, to negotiate and say, look, this is what we want?
Yes, we can come from a position of strength. When I appeared last on this forum, on this TV, I talked about Pan-Africanism. Pan-Africanism, and here on this context, in this perspective that we're talking about, I'm talking of economic Pan-Africanism. How many currencies do we have in Africa right now? Are we trading among ourselves? Okay, Nigeria is a country of about $444 billion economy. 100 billion over South Africa is closest competitor. Yeah. Now, how are we channeling these resources? How are we leveraging it? Remember, these people that are coming in are not coming to play politics of APC or PDP. They are coming to invest. And economic investment depends on fundamentals. What are our fundamentals? It is the leadership that has to spread out. It is the leadership, the African leadership, that has to showcase this fundamentals.
Ambassador Gregory Okon, I wish we had all night to talk about this. Very brilliant, interventions from you there. Ambassador Gregory Okon, thank you so much for joining us on Newsnight. Look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you very much.
Sooner than later.